Hello, everybody. Now, welcome to the University of East London. Except it's not really the University of East London, it's kind of my kitchen. So, welcome to the University of Tristan's kitchen of East London. I am in South East London. Welcome to the University of South East London, Tristan's kitchen. Maybe that's not the right way to start this. You can see on the screen there's a PowerPoint that says the University of East London. BA Honours, acting for stage and screen. Goodness me, what a thing to behold. So we're gonna, Juliet, who's on the call with me, who is leading the acting for stage and screen, is going to introduce herself in a minute, tell you a bit about what her background is. She's fairly new in the university. I've been in the university for 3 years, coming on for 4 years. Would you believe it? It's gone quick. I was part of the team that wrote the Performing Arts degree with Michael Bunce, who you can see here, Curriculum Development and Enhancement Lead. Michael and I started out in the music business, actually. Michael's a drummer and a great pianist and a great composer. And we met in the world of music. And actually, Juliet and I met as well professionally outside of education. I'm a composer and a musical director and a lyricist, an occasional actor and performer. And I did do a little bit of dance last year at the London Contemporary Dance. Not sure if that's a valid description of what I did as dance, but it happened. So I'm very much a multidisciplinary artist, and I was very keen to be involved in the BA acting for stage and screen, as I felt that, having spent a lot of my time around drama school students and the National Youth Theatre, there was a gap in something which had a vocational training but also had academic weight to it. Even though the course is 80% practical, as I'll talk about later, it still gives you that university ticket should you wish to go off into related careers other than acting for stage and screen. For instance, you know, you might want to go into further academic study. You might want to go into anything related, really. And a university training will give you some of those possibilities, as a vocational training wouldn't. Saying that, we're very keen for it to be industry level training. Juliet will tell you a little bit about her vision. And then once she's done that, we're gonna go through this PowerPoint, and then there will be time for questions. I'm greatly assisted this morning by Sean Trimble-Davey. So if I say, hey, Sean, next slide, that's what we'll be doing. And Sean is here. And Juliet may have her eyes on the chat, or Sean will. So do ask questions if you need to. So Juliet, would you like to come on the call and just tell us a little bit about yourself? Can't hear you, Juliet. Sorry, you're on mute.
Hooray, here I am. Good. Yes, good afternoon. It's afternoon now, everybody. My name's Juliet Knight, and I am, as Tristan said, and I consider myself really an industry professional, which means I teach at UEL. I'm a lecturer at UEL and used to be a lecturer at Central School of Speech and Drama, but I feel that alongside that, I work very much as an artist. To give you a little bit of my background, I trained at drama school and I spent my 20s as a jobbing actor. So I really kind of understand the life and the world of actors. And that included working in the West End and also a small part in EastEnders and working in film. And then I moved on and sort of began to develop as a director, and very much starting with the National Youth Theatre, where Tristan and I kind of first met, directed a lot of their main shows for them at places like Soho Theatre, Glasgow Tramway. We went and I directed a huge production up there written by Rebecca Lenkovich, and then became a professional director in my own right. And that then led into me becoming a writer. And now I've kind of written my first play, which was due to perform at the Volks just before COVID, but unfortunately it has been postponed to 2022 at the Vault Festival, and indeed Tristan was the composer and actor on this piece. And I guess, like, within that time, I feel like I've built up quite a few connections with different theatres, like the National Theatre, theatres in Wales, new writing companies, and therefore have Tristan and myself actually have a pool of people who we like to work with, because I think one of the things about this course is it is going to be people from the industry are going to be invited in to actually teach and share knowledge. So it's going to be an opportunity for you to have connections in the industry and build up those connections. But I think the beauty of Tristan and myself, both as practical creatives, is that we understand the industry, and we kind of dip into it. And the other thing, just very quickly to say, is that I've set up a theatre company alongside this called Project on a Bus, which is in direct response to all the theatres being shut through COVID. So myself and a fellow colleague called Carrie Muller have set this company up where we use a bus to take to festivals for new work, and help to develop the creative's voice, and give them a platform to try out new material and invite people to see it. And so that's pretty much me. Tristan, I will pass over to you.
Fabulous. Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, I mean, you know, we were talking earlier on. We did a little workshop earlier on, and we were talking about how, you know, this whole pandemic has reframed much of what we do at the moment. I guess you may have your lessons online. I've certainly made pieces of theatre online as a result of COVID. Now, digital theatre you may have heard of. You may have watched a national theatre, you know, NT Live in a cinema. You may have watched digital theatre as a platform, and you may have heard of those before the pandemic, you know, so it's not something that's just arrived, but digital theatre now is very much with us. And I feel inevitably, as this is a new course and we are very much involved in the industry, we will, maybe not in the first year, which I'm going to talk to you about, but I think certainly we've all picked up digital skills that would be highly desirable to people training now. So I think we're one of the first universities who are thinking along the lines of, we will make some aspects of theatre for the screen. Now you might think, well, isn't that a film? Well, you know, there are differences, and we could have a good debate about that. You know, a film is very much the process of filmmaking is very much something you don't do in a linear sense, or you don't do in a live sense, but performing something live to camera and capturing that in the same duration as theatre for the screen is quite fascinating. And you know, blowing my own trumpet, I did just do A Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which was supposed to tour the UK and Europe and China, and it was forced to go online, and it got picked up by the Times and the Guardian as the hottest front row online seats. So we've enjoyed quite a bit of good luck with this, and have now signed a 3-show deal with digital theatres. So the pandemic for me is what I call, it's a very American thing to say. It's a fusion of the words crisis and opportunity, but it's a crisis-opportunity, and that's what I like to think what this is. And although by the time you come to the University of East London, the world hopefully will have opened back up, I think we'll certainly be looking at all the positive things that we can find out of our new digital tools, you know, in what we're doing now. I have 2 screens here, so my camera is here, and I'm seeing my PowerPoint here, so I'm not ignoring you. Here is my face. So good. Well, let's move on to the next slide, Sean. Okay, so we'll go back one. There we go. So the key features of the Performing Arts Suite at UEL, and it's a lovely word, that isn't it? Suite. So there is a sound and music degree for stage and screen. There is a sound and music for games, for film, and the acting for stage and screen fits into that suite. Now, as a composer and musical director, I'm also course leader of the sound and music for stage and screen. And that would be a partnered degree, and it is my hope and dream that those students will greatly support this degree, which will bring me on to talk about collaboration, because the performing arts is one very established collaborative way of delivering work. And we've got some voices here. We've got ideas focused, industry projects, transferable skills, and creative enterprise and collaboration. So really, you know, ideas focused is many of those ideas may come from you. So we are, you know, one of our students was talking earlier this morning about it being quite a team, family orientated. We very much listen to what our students are interested in. It's not just lecturers telling you what to do, or of course it has to be a little bit, and it wouldn't be a valid course if it wasn't. But it's very much interested in its components, which we are all a component in this. So industry projects, as Juliet said, we'll be bringing in people in the industry right through stage and screen, and I've had some meetings recently with connections of mine. Some of those go back before I was born. How did I make those connections, you may ask? But I mean, they were working in the 60s in art cinema and Italian cinema, and through someone like Jenny Runnicker, who worked with Derek Jarman, and many other directors, as someone I've been talking to about getting some gravity in the course, as well as very much new filmmakers. I had a tiny little part in Anna Karenina with Joe Wright's film. In fact, Arahan Galieva, who sings all the music in that play, was in Juliet's production she was talking about earlier on. So all of this family, you know, sort of bringing people in, actors who, without this becoming some cringeable name drop, you know, one thing about Juliet and I's sort of portfolio is we've got a collection of industry people that we can bring in. It's not all about that, of course. You know, it's really all about us finding our you know, our own journey. I mean, it's always nice to look up to people who are successful, but it would be a very vapid place if all we did was starstruck dreamers. Now, I love being a starstruck dreamer, but we have to think about the technical sides of the learning of this course. We talked a little bit of transferable skills. Really, that's why I was saying it's because it's a degree, it's a BA. You can take that not just into industry, but you can take that on into further study. I mean, Juliet, interestingly, said she crossed over from acting into directing. You could go into a directing route from this course. Equally, you could continue into education. You could go into psychology, sociology. I mean, these are, I think, a lot of the skills one picks up in acting are social sciences in many ways. I should imagine everybody on the course, though, is thinking fairly vocationally in the subject. Let's have the next slide, Sean, because I realise I'm gossiping and galloping along. So the BA Acting for Stage and Screen will nurture professional practice skills, collaboration skills, creativity and innovation, enterprise and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a word we're hearing more and more about. I was interested in talking to Sean about a module we have called Mental Wealth, and entrepreneurship very much plays a part of that. It plays a part in mental wealth in level 5, where you yourselves as a group of students can decide on a project and lead a creative project of your own making and design, preparing you in a way for you know, professional projects in advance of your course. quite a lot of performing arts, you know, there's a bit of a cliche is you have to make your own luck. A lot, I don't think, you know, I'm not a massive believer in luck. I'm only really a believer in hard work and discipline and really taking every opportunity. And it's up to us to give you those opportunities and for you to take them. And I think that's a highly important part of this. Critical thinking, of course, is the course is 80% practical, but the 20% of it that is academic, it's so important to be able to critically analyze the work you're doing, the work of the past, the work of the future, and to reflect on that process. And, you know, this very much is something that exists in the written word. So we're often looking at scripts. So I do feel that some written work is crucial in any degree and in any place where one is communicating and looking at and and picking scripts apart and analysing and critically evaluating work. So there are, if you're worried about that, the University of East London is one of the greatest places I've come across for support with written work and academic support. And, you know, I've seen people really massively improve their literacy at UEL. I'm just writing a reference for someone who came in 4 years ago to UEL who, with French as a first language, and their English was, you know, they were really developing that through their process. And I've just written them a reference to study an MSc. So I love that about education and about how the arts in some ways can be a real way into real confidence in terms of being able to express yourself in all sorts of ways. And that really brings me on to adaptability. You know, it's having those skills where you can take to different alleyways. The social and cultural awareness and engagement, for me, very interesting, really, of where the University of East London is in Stratford. And of course, the Docklands campus sits on Royal Albert Dock. And, you know, I was talking about a wonderful film I watched on the British Film Institute's website the other day called The Street, which looks at Hoxton Street near us and how the old community of Hoxton faces up to the mass gentrification of Hoxton Square and around about. So I do think that us as artists making social and cultural work that picks up on change and how film quite often can really bring about a debate into our city and our culture and our heritage. And Juliet's project on a Bus very much engages with that. And the Royal Docks has a festival actually, which I would greatly push this course to be a part of. Fluency across all of the disciplines that we will encounter. I mean, we will study voice, we will study movement in some ways. The performing arts course has singing, it has dance, which is the components I would say that are least represented here. That saying, you know, suddenly some students might suddenly want to make a film like La La Land. I don't know, but it's not. It's very much centered on the actor, but the disciplines extend out of singing and movement. Of course, the disciplines being film-based may look at the technical aspects of the lens, the camera, and certainly picking up. One thing that I'm interested in bringing in is that the role of the director of photography. How does one look on a screen in terms of costume, props, light, location, all of the things where the actor sits in the screen are just as important in some ways pictorially to the audience, and the semiotic meaning of all of these components. You know, take a book like Roland Barthes' Mythology is written, well, when was it written? In the late 50s, 60s. Look at, you know, with the language of signs, and his book Mythology is a book I greatly recommend. Looking at advertising, looking at products, all of those things. So the disciplines extend both practically and intellectually, I would say. Let's have the next slide, Sean. Good, I've spoken a bit about that, so let's go through to the next one. So this is a key thing, we've said it again, but I'll just scan through. So alongside your lecturers, you will be mentored and taught by professional actors, directors, casting directors, filmmakers and screenwriters, many of whom continue to work in the industry today. This practical and analytical training will help to develop your own artistic identity and offer you a creative performing arts community with plenty of opportunities to create your own original work. The course focuses on a collaborative approach, building an ensemble and creating a drama school atmosphere for our degree students, with a focus on developing the graduate actor with an extensive CV, a professional show reel, and a resilience to make exciting contemporary work. Let's have the next slide, Sean. Some lovely pictures. Let's have a look at the next project. The next slide. Okay, so we're looking across the first interdisciplinary projects through the course, and you'll see that really we're linking, first of all, and the next slide will show this more, is the fact we're starting practically and we're building confidence as practitioners, and then we are starting to work with other disciplines, and then we build up this professional practice. So if we go to the next slide, that breaks that down a little bit more. So if we look at 6 projects through a year, keeping that previous slide in mind, we can see that we have 2 semesters. So the first 3 projects in semester 1, and then the 4, 5, 6 there going to the end of the first year. Now, I don't know if Juliet, you want to say anything about these, or shall I? What would you like to say anything about them?
No, just before we go into that, just picking up on something that we were just talking, or you were talking about, Tristan, a little bit earlier, is that the entrepreneur. I think that's, as Tristan said, a really important word for us, because we are interested in empowering you as an actor so that you don't necessarily leave a 3-year degree to be at the hands and the mercy of casting directors and agents. So therefore, part of this degree, which I think will feed into what we're going to talk about now, is to help you to come to the point in your 3rd year of making your own work. Now this, I sort of, a good example of this is Michaela Cole's Chewing Gum Dreams. Now Michaela Cole, in her final year at Guildhall School of Speech and Drama, she did that Chewing Gum Dreams as a 1-person show, and it was then picked up by the Bush Theatre and then picked up by Netflix. So it's a really good example of how, if you spend your first 2 years developing your skills, can work towards your 3rd year where you are making and performing work to the industry that almost gives you a lifeline into promoting yourself. And that isn't just in terms of theatre performance, that's also in terms of film. So to go back a little bit to the first year, the first year ethos would be that we very much want to develop your voice and help you to develop your voice. So there will be practical voice work. And I think as well, alongside that, movement in terms of developing your movement skills as an actor, because I think it's incredibly important that you connect to your body. The acting isn't just something that happens in your head, it involves your holistically your whole being. So we will be looking at the practical techniques of the actor. And then again, you know, it's a culture of collaboration. So being part of an ensemble, unless you're doing a 1-person show, is a hugely important part of the craft of acting. So it will be really lovely to build an ensemble, and for you also to sit confidently in that ensemble, that it's not a competitive vibe, it's actually a vibe where you are learning with and for each other and supporting your peers. So very much there'll be an ensemble development leading to a playful performance. And this, again, as we touched on in the workshop this morning, I'm an absolute believer, as are a lot of directors these days, in playing games in rehearsal, and to kind of become that playful, present performer, I think will really help you to take on any role, and to be able to leap into the unknown, which is something that actors need to do. And that's sort of leading into slightly more deeper work, which will probably come in semester 2, which is keying into your impulses and your instincts and your emotional connections, and being able to really learn how to be vulnerable, and put yourself in the arena, as Brené Brown says. And again, there'll be narrative, so we'll be looking at how to approach different genres of text, from classical to modern. And there will be a sort of creative portfolio production, we would say, which would be some form of text work that you would be finishing your first year with, and really working towards that. So that's a kind of overview. And I think, again, alongside this, taking this back into camera work, part of the sort of authentic voice in the movement is learning how to work as an actor with a camera. So that will very much be part of your first year, and that's kind of what that looks like. Tristan.
Great, thank you, Julia. Let's go to the next slide, Sean. That's very much a repetition of the first slide, sorry, the previous slide there. But what's interesting for me to pick up on here is that idea of portfolio. So we've all grown up, even me, over the last 10 years with social media, and we've all seen how that has grown. And so much of what we create now lives online, which is a good thing and a bad thing sometimes. There are things, if I Google myself, that I wish weren't there. But actually, having what I often hear academics and practitioners talk about, having agency, your own agency. You don't mean like a drama agency representing lots of people, but you representing yourself as your own agent in some ways, where you are creating your own portfolio through the course. And that when you graduate, you have built up an online portfolio, which can be not massively shared at first. We don't expect you to come in, we expect you to learn something. We don't expect you to come in fully formed. So, but when you get to your third year, you should have built up a portfolio of work, which you could then pick from to send out to employers. And I think it's rather fabulous, I must say, if you can just quickly drop into a conversation or a chat, or in a Teams chat or a Zoom chat. You can say, hey, read this in The Guardian, or here's this on YouTube, or all of these things. So, it has a lot of impact to be digitally represented. And that's something Michael Bunce, who I spoke about earlier, and myself have always been very keen on, as we have to do it professionally quite often. Let's have a look at the next slide. Yeah, so I'll just scan you through this. So at undergraduate level, you develop a range of practical skills and techniques and collaboration skills, while developing an understanding of the professional, cultural, social, technological contexts of your practice. Your first year study develops skills in key areas of disciplinary practice and collaboration. You will participate in industry model projects in collaboration with students from other disciplines. That's rather marvelous, because in our school we have fashion, we have media, we have film. In terms of the technical side of film, we have performing arts, we have drama and applied theatre, and we have dance urban practice, and we have creative writing. So it's an incredible school to collaborate with, and we really push that. So it might be we have a fantastic writer in creative writing who writes a film script. We have a fantastic fashion designer who wants to design for film. We have singers and musicians in performing arts and music. I forgot to mention music. We have a whole suite of music courses, of course. So, really, we have our own little, dare I say the word, our own little Hollywood in East London, you know, with all of these roles. I mean, Juliet mentioned Netflix. I mean, one of our lecturers does do quite a lot of work for Netflix. I can't promise you a Netflix contract by year 2, though. So in the second year, you will experiment further, explore different approaches to individual and collaborative practice, engaging with external practitioners and organisations, and developing employability skills as part of a professional life module. So Sean and I were talking about mental wealth. That whole suite of 3-year mental wealth, we call it professional life as well. So it's all of the things that happens on every degree at UEL. And it's very much where you whatever degree you're doing, how does that fit into the employability of your professional life? In the third year of study, you will become more focused on the development of your own specialist ideas, practice and research, individually and in collaboration with others, internal and external to the university. Obviously, this is a brand new course, and the third year is in a way pie in the sky right now, and will be very much take shape over the next couple of years. Juliet and I have proposed some third-year models where it could be the completion of a feature film that you are kind of working a little towards each year. Now, obviously, that's a very ambitious thing to say, and I don't want to overpromise, but that's the kind of, you know, I see that as a reality. You know, I see making, possibly it wouldn't provide enough opportunities for everyone if we just made one, but I think a selection of short, professionally graded, shareable, festival ready pieces of performance across theatre and film is very realistic, and is certainly something that we have the equipment and the skills, both technical and practical, to achieve. It's super exciting, I feel. Let's have the last slide, Sean. Yeah, we will also be answering questions today on uni days, and you can drop in and talk to Juliet or myself. Juliet is on uni days as Juliet, acting at the stage and screen today. I am there as Tristan Parks, because I forgot that I shouldn't have used my surname and should have used the name of the course. But it's been, well, you know, it's an exciting prospect, and we'd love to take you on that journey. Over to Juliet for the last words.
Yeah, I just very quickly gonna just sort of say that, like, I have this mantra about how an actor, the skills that an actor needs to develop to leap into the unknown. And I think it's just the nuances of what this degree course will look at is the actor's skills of the first word letter from leaping is leap, is to actually listen, to actually learn the skills. A good actor is really, really good at listening. E, it stands for the sort of engaging with your impulse and your energy. A is your authenticity, being able to be a really authentic performer. And P goes into playfulness and your presence. So I think those for me are the really important aspects of an actor training. And so I just wanted to just feed that in a little bit, because that was a brilliant overview that Tristan's given there of the whole course and the university where the course sits. But at heart, these will be the sort of the things that you will be developing for your craft of acting.